we walk over them every day. Beneath our feet lie layers of history that were never meant to be found. Silent witnesses to brutal rituals, prehistoric monsters, and moments of desperate survival frozen in time. From a spectral bomber resting untouched in a jungle for 70 years to a prehistoric demon emerging from a Florida riverbed. In this episode of Signal 49, we are unearthing another 6 archaeological discoveries that challenge our understanding of the past. Let's dig in. Number 1. The Burrow Hill Chariot Hill. In 2,000-year-old horse-drawn chariot burned in an ancient fortress. Traces of a mysterious Iron Age ritual hidden beneath layers of soil and rock on Burrow Hill near the town of Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire, England. A rare archaeological discovery has astonished researchers. The remains of a bronze horse-drawn chariot over 2,000 years old, found within an Iron Age hill fort. At first glance, one might wonder, in such a seemingly peaceful hill, why would traces of a chariot associated with power and ritual even exist? The answer emerged during the excavation, when archaeologists uncovered a series of chariot-related artifacts, including wheel axle pins, decorative bronze rings, harness straps, and notably, a saddle with an unusual shape resembling a small barrel. Based on the craftsmanship and materials, experts estimate these artifacts were made around the 2nd or 3rd century BCE. This means the chariot dates back to a time when ancient societies in the British Isles were still heavily influenced by Iron Age culture. What makes this discovery even more remarkable isn't just its age, but the way the chariot was buried. The remains were found atop a layer of chaff and straw, which archaeologists interpret as fuel for a ritualistic cremation. In other words, the chariot was deliberately burned before being buried. This was not ordinary destruction. It was likely part of a religious ceremony with profound significance. From these clues, archaeologists infer that the chariot may have been sacrificed in a special ritual, perhaps before dismantling or destroying a building within the hill fort, or to mark an important seasonal event. For the Iron Age people, such moments were not just about changes in weather or living conditions. They were deeply intertwined with spiritual beliefs and connections to supernatural forces. Experts also note that the chariot almost certainly did not belong to an ordinary person. In Iron Age society, horse-drawn vehicles symbolized power, status, and prestige. Its owner may have been a noble or a high-ranking warrior. Jeremy Taylor, an archaeologist from Leicester University, expressed his excitement, calling it the most significant find at Burrow Hill in 5 years of research. Discoveries like this are extremely rare. After carefully cleaning the artifact, the team uncovered intricate decorative patterns, 3 curved branches radiating from a central point. Many have noted a resemblance to the symbol on the modern flag of the Isle of Man, suggesting the possibility that the ancient inhabitants of this region may have had cultural or trade connections farther afield than previously thought. The excavation also revealed a set of iron horse care tools. Among them were an object resembling a modern horsebrush and 2 curved blades, possibly used for trimming hooves or maintaining saddles. These small details show that ancient people not only used horses as transportation, but cared for them meticulously, treating them as highly valuable assets. Number 2. The ancestor of the great white shark. 9-million-year-old ancestor of the great white shark fossil shocks the South Pacific. Around 9 million years ago, long before humans appeared, the southern Pacific Ocean was ruled by a giant ocean predator, closely related to today's great white shark. On January 20th, 2025, paleontologists in Peru officially announced the discovery of an almost complete fossil of this ancient shark, sending waves of excitement through the scientific community. At this point, you're probably wondering, what did this creature look like? And why is this discovery so important? The shark in question is called Cosmopolitodus hastalis, which once dominated the ancient southern Pacific waters. Its favorite prey was not small fish, but dense schools of sardines swimming offshore. The fossil was found in the Pisco Basin, about 146 miles south of Lima. Today the area is an arid desert with harsh sun and wind, but millions of years ago it was a vibrant seabed preserving countless traces of ancient marine life. What makes this discovery particularly remarkable is the fossil's level of preservation. Unlike many previous finds that consisted only of isolated teeth, this specimen includes a relatively complete skeleton of a giant shark. According to scientists, Cosmopolitodus hastilis is considered a direct ancestor of the great white shark, one of the ocean's most fearsome predators today. Though this ancient species is extinct, the remains reveal a creature whose power rivaled that of its modern descendants. Consider the size. Its teeth could reach up to 3.5 in long, razor-sharp like blades. A fully grown individual could reach nearly 23 feet in length, roughly the size of a small boat. With dimensions like that, it's easy to imagine it as the apex predator of its time, with almost no rivals in its environment. Cesar Augusto Chacultana, an engineer from the Peruvian Geological and Mining Institute, stated during the unveiling that the fossil is exceptionally rare. The skeletal and dental structures are well preserved, allowing researchers to accurately reconstruct the shark's shape, size, and lifestyle. At the press event, the fossil was carefully displayed in glass cases, with the massive jaw and rows of sharp teeth taking center stage. Just seeing it sends chills down your spine. This discovery not only helps us better understand the origins and evolution of the great white shark, but also opens a window into the ancient marine ecosystem of the South Pacific. Number 3. Ancient bog butter. 2,000-year-old block of butter still edible after being buried in an Irish bog. You probably never imagined that a block of butter could survive for 2,000 years, right? But in this mysterious world, anything is possible. Imagine standing in a wet bog in Ireland, where lush green grass grows, and the air carries the weight of history. Suddenly you stumble upon an unusual object, which at first glance looks like a giant potato, but in reality, it's a sphere of butter. This butterball weighed nearly 22 WWII, enough to make anyone marvel at how it could have survived for thousands of years. The story begins with a mower named Jack Conway, who discovered the butter while working in the Emlach bog. At first, he probably thought he had found an unusual clump of soil or rock. But on closer inspection, he realized it was a strangely preserved piece of butter. So, how could a block of butter survive for so long? And what exactly was it? This was no ordinary food item. It was made from cow's milk. And even more striking, it had a strong odor stronger than cheese, which might make many people recoil. Estimated to be 2,000 years old, this butter has endured a long journey, much of which remains a mystery. But one thing is certain, few people ever get the chance to witness such a rare artifact. The secret to its survival lies in ancient preservation methods. In times before refrigeration or modern storage, people developed a clever technique, burying butter underground. But they didn't just bury it anywhere. They chose bogs which offered cool, oxygen-poor conditions. This was crucial in preventing spoilage. With no salt, no fridge, the butter could remain surprisingly fresh under layers of peat and in low oxygen soil. Even more fascinating, archaeologists discovered that these butter blocks were not buried randomly. Many were placed in special locations, such as crossroads between ancient kingdoms. These areas were considered sacred land, where ordinary people were forbidden to disturb. This suggests that the butter may have been offered as a ritual sacrifice to deities, rather than simply stored as food. Number 4. The 3D mural of Huacaventaron, 4,000-year-old 3D mural shocks Peru. Some archaeological discoveries don't need gold, silver, or massive stone statues to leave us in awe. Sometimes just a few carefully removed layers of earth are enough to reveal the spiritual world of prehistoric people with astonishing clarity. In the Huacaventaron site in Peru, archaeologists have done just that by uncovering a rare ancient 3D mural believed to have existed for around 4,000 years, almost untouched by the modern world. Huacaventaron is not an ordinary site. It's a ritual complex covering about 50 acres, featuring large plazas and massive architectural structures reminiscent of the sacred city Caral Soup, the cradle of one of the oldest civilizations in the Americas. This suggests that Huacaventaron was once a major center for spiritual activity, where ancient people gathered to perform rituals closely tied to nature and the cosmos. During a recent excavation, a team from Trujillo National University accessed a U-shaped subterranean structure buried beneath the soil for millennia. And there, in a skylight within the structure, they encountered an incredible sight. An ancient mural still maintaining a clear layout and striking three-dimensional detail. The mural measures roughly 13 ft long by 5 ft wide. What makes it especially remarkable is its 3D style, unlike typical flat murals, giving a real sense of depth. At the center is the image of a fish, but its body is shaped like a raised fishing net, giving viewers the impression that the fish is moving through space. Surrounding it are trees and stars, creating a scene both familiar to daily life and imbued with mystical symbolism. Researchers date the mural to around 4,000 years ago, which means that at a time when humans had no metal tools or modern equipment, they were already capable of producing complex artworks, combining sculptural techniques with symbolic thinking. This is not just decorative art, it is evidence of highly developed cognition and social organization. Number 5. The swamp ghost of Papua New Guinea. The spectral bomber resting in the jungles of New Guinea. In 1972, during a routine exercise over the Agayambo swamp in Papua New Guinea, Royal Australian Air Force personnel spotted something unbelievable below them. Jutting out of the high kunai grass and stagnant water was the unmistakable silver silhouette of a massive aircraft. It wasn't a wreck scattered into pieces. It looked as if it had been carefully placed there by a giant hand. This was the B-17E Flying Fortress, tail number 412446, a ghost from World War II that had been missing for 30 years. Known today as the Swamp Ghost, this aircraft tells a harrowing story of survival. On February 23, 1942, after a bombing raid on Japanese ships in Rabaul, the plane, piloted by Captain Fred Eaton, ran out of fuel. With no other option, Eaton performed a miraculous wheels-up emergency landing in one of the most remote swamps on Earth. Remarkably, the entire crew survived the crash. But they then faced a brutal 6-week trek through malaria-infested jungle to reach safety. They left their aircraft behind, assuming it would sink and be lost forever. But the swamp didn't swallow it. Instead, the tall grass and isolation preserved it in a state that stunned archaeologists and salvagers decades later. When investigators finally reached the site, they found a perfect time capsule. The fuselage showed zero corrosion. The cockpit instruments were intact. The machine guns were still mounted in their turrets, loaded and ready to fire. Even the coffee thermoses belonging to the crew were still inside the cabin. It was an eerie, silent memorial to a desperate moment in history. The Swamp Ghost is considered the holy grail of military aviation archaeology because of its incredible preservation. Unlike the urban legends of planes with batteries still charged or hot coffee waiting, the reality of the Swamp Ghost is haunting enough on its own. It is a tangible metal witness to the past, sitting silently in the middle of nowhere, proving that sometimes history refuses to be buried. While the crew eventually made it home, their fortress remained, guarding the swamp for nearly 70 years before finally being salvaged and returned to the United States. Number 6. The demon-faced Gomfother. The demon-faced monster fossil emerges from the riverbed. What if a time portal suddenly opened beneath your feet? Would you dare to step through? Imagine standing in the wildlands of northern Florida, a region that was the stage for brutal survival battles millions of years ago. There, a buried world of giant beasts is slowly being awakened. What would you do? During what seemed like a routine excavation along the bed of a dried-up river, a research team from the Florida Museum of Natural History unexpectedly uncovered the fossilized bones of a massive, grotesque, almost surreal creature. This creature was a Gomfother, an elephant-like animal, with the appearance of a nightmare. Gomfothers were not just distant relatives of modern elephants. They were demon-faced monsters that roamed across North America roughly 6 million years ago. Weighing up to 11,000 lbs and standing as tall as a modern African elephant, this species sported 4 tusks, 2 long-pointed ones on the upper jaw and 2 shorter upward-curving tusks from the lower jaw, forming a face both bizarre and terrifying. If you've ever imagined monsters from the movies, congratulations. Filmmakers may have inadvertently recreated a creature that truly existed. The excavation site named Montbrook is a natural fossil graveyard where past and present meet in layers of ancient soil. Among dozens of elephant-like bones, Dean Warner, a retired chemistry teacher, stumbled upon the complete skeleton of what scientists now call the King Gompho there. Remarkably, the giant creature's skeleton was preserved in a lifelike pose, as if it had just lain down and never awoken. A peaceful death, frozen in the earth for millions of years. This isn't just the largest Gompho skeleton ever discovered. It is also one of the most complete fossils in the world. Its skull measures 9 ft long with a height of nearly 8 ft, resembling a living tower that once dominated this wild landscape. Why were so many Gomphotheres, along with other animals, concentrated in this very area? Scientists hypothesize that, like modern elephants, older or weaker individuals may have gathered near familiar water sources to spend their final moments. Over thousands of years, successive floods layered the remains of multiple generations, creating a stratified graveyard, essentially a petrified chronicle of Earth's ancient life. And the King Gompho is more than just a fossil. It is a witness rising from the earth telling the story of an era long before humans existed, when life was staggeringly complex and fierce, and saying that is by no means an exaggeration. These discoveries force us to confront a simple truth. The earth is a vault, and we have barely scratched the surface. From the ritual fires of Iron Age England to the silent swamps of New Guinea, the past is rarely as dead as we think it is. It is waiting, preserved in bog, ash, and soil, ready to challenge our understanding of history. The frightening part isn't what we've found, it's what is still down there, waiting for the next shovel to hit the dirt. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unknown, kindly consider liking and subscribing to Signal 49. We'll see you in the next.